have some opinions on Rome, but as for Macerata, I feel much differently. I already love it here. It has more of a country feel for sure. It's less touristy. Of course, not as many people speak English, but that's wonderful. That's wonderful. It feels much more authentic than Rome did, because when I was in Rome, as I posted before, it was much more international. So plenty of people spoke English, but plenty of people also got pretty frustrated with you. So, well, here in Macerata, we've already been on a little excursion to kind of know our way around, and I found that I got to know it really fast. I already know pretty much where the important things are. I don't know where everything is, but one of the most important areas I saw was this area that you see right here. Let me pan and show you a little bit more of this. It just looks like patchwork. You can see how the stories of the land, or the stories of the people, have shaped the land. And so, since Rome, this is the first time I've really had any alone time at all. And while I love touring, and our guide Filiberto, well, he's amazing, first of all. He is an endless well of knowledge, really. He really is. And I've truly enjoyed all he has to say about art and architecture, especially because he has his degree in architecture. But it's good to kind of finally go at my own pace, you know, get my own feel for the place. And whenever I look at this behind me, I mean, obviously there's nothing like this in Indiana, and I've never been out of the country before. So I look out and I just want to touch it. I just want to reach it. I want to explore it. I want to move into that space. And it reminds me a lot of the research I did last semester concerning the language of navigation in virtual environments. But I really feel that it can apply to physical, real environments that you see. There is such a language and a story to be told through the movement of space, how space can make you feel. But more on that later. So some other things about Macerata so far. The weather is so, Filiberto told us it's normally much warmer than it is right now, because it's kind of cool, especially here in the shade. But yeah, he said they had a very late spring, kind of like we did back in the US. I guess it affected much more of the world. There's a huge degree difference between being in the sun and being in the shade. Everyone around here, they wear jeans everywhere, which is what I usually do. They wear coats everywhere, which I usually do, but I'm not doing now. Because it's just so, you just don't know what the weather's gonna do. At least my experience so far. It seems like everything's just, can become chilly all of a sudden. Other than the weather, something I really, really like is the way they handle money. Everything, the tax is included in everything. You don't have to tip. So you always know exactly how much you're going to pay for everything. So it's very convenient. So I really wish we did that. We wish we did that back in the States. The hospitality around here is so much nicer. It really reminds me of Indiana, because in rural areas, people they're just so much nicer to you. Whereas in Rome, everybody was just get to the point, get what you want, get out of here. But here, everybody's so very welcoming. You can talk to almost anybody, and even though most of them don't speak English, if you can translate, carry on a dictionary, a phrase book, you can, there's just a lot of neat stuff you can learn, although I haven't had much experience with that yet. With the food, the food, we had a place called, I forget the beginning of it, but the end of it is like Da Ezio. I'll get the full name of it later. But it was a full course meal. And a full course meal here means you start with the water, of course. They have natural water, but they also have frizzy water. So it's just kind of like tonic water. And then of course wine. Wine is as cheap as water here. You have to pay for water just as much as you do wine. So you might as well get the wine. And then you start with the pasta dish, and you move on to a meat dish of some kind that usually has some sort of potatoes on it, and oh my god. The meat I have had here is the best meat. I've had the best pasta here. So delicious. And then you move to a salad, which kind of cleans your palate instead of it being before, which makes more sense to me. And you end it with tiramisu or some sort of dessert like that. And then you can get an espresso, some sort of coffee at the end of your meal. You can even add a bit of liquor to it, which is wasn't really for me. I didn't really care for it, but I didn't really like the espresso to begin with, so that's just not for me. As for storytelling, though, looking around here, now I feel like my perspective is a little limited because I haven't been to very many urban areas in the United States. So like New York, I've been to San Francisco actually for a little bit. And what I've noticed here, though, this isn't a very urban area, but there is graffiti everywhere, and it really reflects the way the younger people feel in the area. There's this graffiti that we saw on the way to the gardens, and it was just like boycott McDonald's. I've only seen 2 McDonald's since we've been here, and there's just many other ones. Some are beautiful works of art. Art here is so much more revered than it is back home. Back home, you get an art degree, you're considered just pretty much worthless. Here, I don't know how they feel about a degree in art, but artists themselves are more revered. They are very expressive. They show how people are feeling. And I really especially noticed that in the historical, ancient, and Romanesque Gothic art, especially Renaissance art that we've seen while here. And these stories that you see, I mean, we've learned before that stories are told through art to the illiterate way back then. But even today, even though people can read a much higher percentage of people can read, they still feel the need to express themselves artistically. So you see a lot more visual art here. There's also a lot more music festivals, and I'm excited to go to the theater soon, where I will see, they said the musical Rent is supposed to be playing in a theater here in Macerata. So I've never seen it before. I've listened to the soundtrack a million times, so I know the story. But now to actually see it, it's going to be performed in Italian. I would love to see their expression of theater. But it's going to be minimalistic theater, I think, because this town is very small. It's half the population, it's less than half the population of Muncie. So even though there's a university here, I think things will be a little less budgeted. But at the same time, I feel that will be more expressive. So I'm excited for that. Also, considering how they get messages out, how they talk about things, there are posters all over the city. Of course, that's how I found out about Rent the musical playing here, is because there are posters literally pasted on the ancient walls, on the however old the walls are, 1,600 years old. No, not quite that old, but 600 years old. And they tell you so many things. They tell you what events are coming up. Of course, they advertise things like the gelato places. Of course, the gelato's delicious. Everybody knows the gelato's delicious. But it's not just restaurants and food. There's even more morbid things, like obituaries are placed on the wall, so you can see who has died recently, and they get much more than like the 7 or 16 words you see in the newspaper. They get like a full poster dedicated to that person. And I think that's really interesting because you can see family and history here. Heritage is much more a part of everyday life, much more a part of their individual stories here than what you see back home. Because back home in Indiana, I mean, as far as I know, I'm part German, part Welsh, but that doesn't really mean anything to me. It's like they say it's a melting pot, but really we're all just kind of like a mutt, you know? I feel like a mutt, and I just don't feel like history has ever been an interest of mine because I don't have much history. But when you come here and you physically feel the ancient walls in front of you, the medieval walls, the Gothic walls, all of the architecture, it's surreal. because I wouldn't say it's totally mind-blowing, because there's a part of me that can't grasp it. I'll be honest with you. There's a part of me that can't quite compute what I'm seeing. So, well, anyway, this is my experience here so far. I think I'm gonna love it. I miss home a little bit, but to be honest, I definitely don't want to go home yet. I wanna feel around a bit more. So, geographically speaking, I'm already completely used to it. I'm just a spatial person, so that's easy for me. But socially, it's very hard. It's very hard because people are nice, and it's a really nice thing. However, I still feel the language barrier is getting in the way a lot more than I thought it would. So I'm going to be practicing more Italian on Duolingo. We have an Italian class offered to us, so I'm going to be doing that a little bit. If it's not too slow, because it might be a little slow compared to Duolingo. But anyway, I'm rambling. So this is probably like a 15-minute video already. So this is my arrival in Macerata, and I'm already so excited to go out there, just explore. I mean, that's what I want to do in the games I play. That's what I just want to do in life. I just want to explore. I want to be a leader in my direction through space. That sounds so vague, but that's what I want. So I'm hoping this is cathartic for me. That's what video games are for me. I play them, I go through their stories, and the stories are cool. I like the stories, but most of all, what I like more than the stories is exploring the space. And I become attached to the stories through the space that I explore. So I feel when I get even more used to the geography here, when I explore more of that area, I will become even more attached and have a lot more to say about the stories around here. So anyway, like I said, I'm rambling. So that's it. I'll probably edit this out. You might see a lot of cuts. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So thanks for watching, and arrivederci.